Good morning, live from the frontline, which is Brooklyn downtown Best Buy. Incredible, these TVs. This one is, hang on. This monster is just $300. It's just staggering, the price of televisions nowadays. And I'm here to buy a television. I had to give my other one to my son. He's moved out. So there's a big deal with OPEC. This was a wild card move that we didn't expect. I think the market was anticipating and had heard that Saudi was going to unilaterally roll cuts and the rest of OPEC could sort of do what they want, which in retrospect was naive. But of course we have lived really over the last 6 months with that situation, with Saudi having unilaterally cut. And you will have heard us warning that, if Saudi's unilaterally cutting and everyone else is increasing production, there's a tendency for these things to end badly. We're also highlighting that in October 2022, I was actually in the press conference of the OPEC meeting in Vienna, and I directly asked the Saudi oil minister if they were going to renegotiate quotas anytime soon, because the entire quota system is in total disarray. And he actually responded that they will look at the quota system and that it was not for this meeting, but it would be done. And my suspicion is here that Saudi may well be pushing for an entirely new quota system, with the obvious issue being that Iran does not have a quota, and Iran is the number one supplier of oil to China, which historically has been Saudi's job. So you can see why Saudi would be doing the ring around, telling Iran to get in line. Nigeria, again, total disarray compared to its quota. It's underproduced, but now has rising production. UAE is over, which is interesting because UAE historically was such a close ally of Saudi's, but now we think UAE is more inclined for maximum production at whatever price, given they and Saudi are the producers of last resort. And with the amount of oil reserves that UAE has, and with the changes in behavior we're seeing in places like China regarding EVs, you can see that the UAE is quite keen to produce at high levels, and so that's another tough one. And then across the board there are other bits and pieces, and at the end of it all we have Russia, where you just have systemic liars, and it's just like, what are they going to do? So suddenly we have a delayed meeting which is pushed to November the 30th. That means everyone gets to stay in Vienna, and I get to think about whether or not I want to fly to Vienna. Although the relations between OPEC and the press means it's a bit tougher. I think it's tough to get into the meetings now because of the breakdown in relations between particularly Saudi and a lot of the press. So it's a complicated one, but the potential for a market share war is real, and therefore the sell-off in Brent is justified. We could get a situation where Saudi does corral everyone, does get agreements. You've got to remember their relations with Iran are much, much better than they were in the past, for example in 2014. And you actually get a double whammy of Saudi maintaining their cuts and everyone else from OPEC, at least on paper, promising 1 million barrels a day together. That would include people like Iraq, who could back off quite a bit of oil. They've been at very high levels. And you can kind of, if you squint, see a road to 1 million barrels a day of cuts from everyone else, plus Saudi sustaining, and a bullish outcome. But of course the opposite is what happened in 2014, where oil from the OPEC Thanksgiving meeting went in a straight line to $50 a barrel by January of 2015. And there's a real risk if Saudi, for example, gets really upset and increases production, which is very much within their capacity to do, then you really dump the oil market and go after the marginal US producer. And the marginal US producer is now called Exxon and Chevron, so that's a much stickier price to attack than it was in the past, when you had more marginal players who were quicker to essentially go into bankruptcy. The US industry's balance sheets are excellent right now, and they'll probably maintain at least their production guidance for 2024 before they start really panicking, which would be around the $50 a barrel level. Okay, good luck.